Kenneth Middleton, welcome to the 20th Avenue podcast, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, the biggest influencer in Botswana.
Not really, but we're getting there.
No, don't be modest, don't be humble.
No, well, we'll see how it goes. 2022, yeah.
2022.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the repeat of 2020.
There's no repeat.
There's no repeat.
This is different. Big things happening.
Big things happening.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. All right. So let's just take it back in the day, when you were still like a young graphic designer.
Yeah.
Like, what was your goal and ambition? Like, what is it that you wanted to achieve? Because in the past 10 years, you've evolved like no one else in this planet.
Yeah. Well, as a graphic designer, firstly, I wanted to fit into the industry, be able to hold my own in the industry, in the studio there with all the other senior graphic designers, doing that corporate work and those annual reports, them brands and whatnot. But eventually I started to get bored of those things once having mastered them. Now I wanted to use my skills for other things. So I thought, look, it's not all about just how well can you design, but about designing things that have value, that are important to me and to other people. So I used my thinking. So I would start anything I did, I would apply graphic design towards it as a value add. So I would start businesses and I would use my graphic design towards that. I wrote a book and called How to Play Botswana's Traditional Games. My graphic design came in handy there. When we were designing traditional games products, again, my design thinking came into play there, and it was a great advantage. And so then I started to get into, while I was doing the traditional games business, I had to market it using social media, and I got a knack for social media, and so I found it very interesting how one can manage to reach so many people all by your own efforts without needing anyone else, especially traditional media and whatnot. Having to be in the newspaper, somebody has to write an article about you, or you have to pay for an ad, or you get on the radio, you have to be doing something important, So, but just from your own room with your own thoughts, you can reach hundreds of thousands of people on social media. And I was like, wow, this is really great. So I've studied it so hard. I wanna understand it fully. I wanna be as effective as possible, because everybody's there, but only few are gonna be as effective as possible.
All right. Very interesting. But I still want us to keep it like from the time when you're still on your come up. Yeah. So your turning point whereby people like started paying attention to you, it's when you release a book, Mtsameko Setso, and it got into the traditional games business. How did you conceptualize that? Because we like a lot of people think that traditional games get go high and they are mostly for kids.
Yeah, well, I'm always interested in doing things that will leave a mark. And so when I looked at traditional games, I realized that there was a huge gap in the market. I mean, first of all, there was no book that documented the games, and there were no products, there were no services. If there were products, they were, at the craft shop, and they cost thousands of bucks, and they're not like manufactured stuff that is like, very accessible. And so seeing that gap, I realized, look, here's an opportunity for me to make a mark and to create a business that is interesting, because I hate doing businesses that are, normal and boring. I want interesting stuff.
Yeah. And how did the game, it was well received, but how did you sell it to the corporate world mostly, because that's where you're getting the gigs?
Well, I don't know. I've been lucky, but also having been in the industry for a while, I just have a way of putting my things that allow for corporates to fit in. But they also, I guess they appreciated fundamentally what it was about. the preservation of traditional games as an important part of our culture and heritage. But also when we created our products, we had space for corporates to put their logos onto our boards, and so they became corporate gifts. And even when we did events, we figured out a way to be able to apply our traditional games to other people's events as a form of entertainment. Apart from the usual having someone on stage, having some music and whatnot, you can have some traditional games around your venue. And so it just worked out. But I appreciate that people were able to see what we could do, and that they also supported our initiative.
So while still you're still in the thing, what you call the traditional games industry, you become a president of the African Nation Traditional Games.
I became, well, first of all, we started our own associations, you know, and we wanted to take it to the next level. We did events, but we wanted to be bigger, and we wanted to affiliate with the Botswana National Sports Council. And in order to do that, we had to merge with other traditional games associations from around here and around the country. And so once we merged, we formed the Botswana Traditional Sports and Games Confederation. I was fortunate enough to have been chosen as the founding president to lead the first few years of the organization.
But how is it coming up now, the game industry, traditional game industry? Because you're quite these days you're very quiet, like, or you quit.
If I'm to be honest with you, this is gonna be the first time a lot of people get to hear this. But I have since lost my passion for traditional games. I'm a man of passion. And so I was very passionate about it. I gave it my all. But some point in my life, if I was to point at the exact point, during lockdown, the first lockdown, and we received no business whatsoever, and I had to start thinking, what is in store for me in the future? And the traditional games were closed down. And even when things were opening up, it was different for us because we were just getting started with building this thing, the structures that were going to eventually become, a functioning network of traditional games that could have events and, have people from different parts of the country and eventually be able to have representatives, teams, Botswana, representing us with other nations playing traditional games. But once this all disappeared in the blink of an eye, I had to reevaluate, and so all that time I had, I was developing a new passion. And this is where I am today.
This is where like a lot of people love to be with you. So you've left the traditional games.
I haven't completely left, but I'm in the process of transitioning away from traditional.
So, but still, if someone asks for a gig, would you give them only the gigs that you're doing for the corporates?
Definitely. I mean, the company is still alive. I'm going to pass on the company to others who still have the passion to continue it. The games are available. The events, we still have our equipment. We still manufacture the traditional games and whatnot. I just will not be too involved in the whole thing.
As a big man, you'll just be a shareholder.
Something like that.
And then 2020 comes. You all of a sudden you start before that you started posting videos, trying out different things. You'd write with a pen and check how many kilometers a pen would write. You're using different products, like you're playing around with different products. What was happening during that era?
During that time I had all the time in the world. The only problem was that I couldn't leave the front gate. I could just be inside the house. And so I wanted to now explore content creation and to get over my fears of being, in front of the camera as the main center of attention as I'm delivering a piece of content. So I started trying out so many different things, TikTok, short form videos, long form videos. And to be honest with you, it's so liberating, and I had so much fun doing it. And the reception that I received has given me the confidence that I can actually proceed with this. I would like to one day be able to, be fully self-sustainable off content creation as a full-time job.
Yeah. And it has slowly become one of your full-time gigs, because you recently launched Botswana Foodies. That was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Or maybe 3, maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
But all I know is that it really started to become what you see today. Towards the lockdown, and then during the lockdown, boom, it just, because everyone had the time and the appreciation, but also we've been trying to build this culture, and the whole mission is trying to elevate the quality of a palate for an entire generation, because this will benefit all of us. I mean, the food world will never be the same. The supermarkets, the industry supplies what the demand is. So if we can work on the demand, we can have all the nice things coming through too. I mean, the shops will make sausages that they think these are the normal sausages, everybody wants them. So they wouldn't make some really nice stuff because people wouldn't buy them. Because people don't know about them, so they don't have the time to build a market. I have the time to build a market, and so I will take that and hope others will join.
So you're the middleman between the suppliers and the consumers.
Sort of. I can definitely be able to link the two sides, but also there's also more work that we can just do without, without the suppliers, but just as a community, because it's all about community, and that's our leverage at the end of the day.
Yeah. So let me just take it back a bit. When you started the Botswana Foodies and the Zimbabwe Foodies also, like, what was your agenda? Like, were you looking forward to being where you are, or it was just one of your ways of like spending the lockdown period?
Well, we started that one before lockdown, and it was all about. We started that one a bit before lockdown. It's just during the lockdown that it expanded exponentially. But it was all about the fact that I was tired and I was bored of eating the same thing every day. And I was tired of going home and not knowing what interesting things I could do. And so I wanted to build a community where we could share and grow with each other, our food experiences. So that's where it started. It started with friends, family, my sisters, my cousins, and that's where it started. And then we just built on top of that. So I just got tired of eating the same things every day, and it just, food just became so boring to me. But I knew that, look, the food world is huge. So why does it have to be boring? So I decided, look, man, I want to try things, but I also want to share it with people, get their reactions, get advice, from other people, because other people know different things. That's the thing with social media. It's a multiplier. So I get to communicate with thousands of people instead of just, one-on-one or one-on-two or whatever. I just wanted it to be big so that you can definitely get the results that you want.
So, at first people thought it was just a group. Yeah. And the group grew. It even opened like groups outside the country. Yeah. And how has it been like this whole thing, like the experience of it? Because this is a market, an untapped market that you're driving.
Well, it's a journey. It's an eye opener, because we didn't really know what it could become, and we're still learning, and we're still adapting, and we're still evolving, and we still have long-term vision for what could be possible. But I mean, at the end of the day, people aren't used to having a a meaningful group like that, where there's a sole purpose for the group and everything is geared towards that. I mean, we have so many groups, but they're loose and there's and they're fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm just saying, like, having a group solely dedicated to one thing and having admins who are so dedicated, are there all the time following and making sure that things are done right and the content remains in one stream, and we also don't get to be bombarded with so much advertising and sales and whatnot, because some people have turned social media into a place to just constantly sell stuff. And I personally don't want to be sold to all the time. Sometimes I just want to break. If I want something, I want to go and look for it. I don't want to always constantly be receiving messages about things being sold that I don't really need or care about. So we wanted to create this environment where it's a purpose-driven thing, and we want to be full-time admins who take this as a job. Administering a group could be a job.
But tell me something, Ken. In this era, 2022, the year that we're in currently, do you think that a group is much more effective than compared to maybe pages where you can boost, sponsor, and stuff like that?
Well, the great thing about social media, which is what I love about it, is that it is constantly evolving. And so I want to stay at the cutting edge. Nothing will always remain the same. So you mentioned that you can boost on pages, but soon we'll be able to boost in groups. We're waiting for it. I mean, the news says that stuff is coming. They're already testing it out in America and whatnot. So the groups will always constantly be changing from what you think they are now until to what Facebook needs them to be. So back to your question, which one is more? It depends on what you're trying to do. There's so many different ways of going around it. At some points, a group and a community is much more effective for certain things than a page. Sometimes a page is more effective than a group, but at the end of the day, I want to work with both of them and use them to their fullest potential. Yes.
And I see corporates are now like paying attention to the Botswana Foodies community group. Like I see you like putting up advertising a number of products.
Yeah.
So it's now a full 9 to 5. It's a job now.
It's getting there. I mean, of course, there's other sides to it, and it's not yet fully there where one can say I'm not doing anything else. But yes, it is getting to that point where one can consider it as a job. If this answers your question.
No, but the question is for you guys. It's now a job. Like, it has gotten to that extent because I see corporates are placing their products with you guys.
Yes. Well, we will work with the corporates, and yes, we would like it to become a full-time job. It's not quite there yet, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we always are delivering value to our members. That's the most important thing out of everything. So even when we work with a corporate, we don't want just a simple traditional advertising where you just plaster your billboard, your message and whatnot. No, we want something which is interactive. We want something which is engaging, and we want something that gives back to the community. And that's how we wish to connect the corporate world, the brands, and the community.
So who cooks that food that you're always posting?
Who do you think?
Aish. At first I used to think that it's you, but it looks too good to be like a man's hand.
Ow. Well, I've been working at it, and I'm still gonna get so much better. There's so much more to learn. But I mean, man, I've been working so hard on it, working on my photography, working on my plating. I do a whole lot of research. I work on this thing very hard.
So, like, you have a cooking background with something that you started learning?
No, I don't have a cooking background. I have simply a design background and that kind of thinking, whereby my design thinking, I can apply it to nearly anything to achieve my desired results.
So, talking about brand influence, you're one of the biggest brand influencers in the country. And what's your view like when it comes to Botswana and brand management, brand and branding? Would you say like we've arrived at a point whereby brands are confident with individuals being their brand ambassadors?
I wouldn't say that they're not confident now or it's not happening now. It's happening. It's just that from when I look out into other markets, how it takes place and how it takes place here, it's totally different.
Yeah.
You know, out there, you know, Instagram and YouTube, TikTok, and they deal with an influencer based on, you know, the content that they're producing and how it relates to what the brand is trying to say. Over here it's still at that level of, look, you have a big following, you're a celebrity, you might not be related to this thing, but we can find a way to, you know, to put it out there, which again, like I'm saying, is still more of a traditional kind of way of thinking of advertising, rather than you know, the new and improved ways that take advantage of all the tools that social media has to offer. I mean, if you're an influencer, you are an influencer because of something, you know, and we've been used to influencers who are like musicians, who are like actors, who are like comedians and whatnot. But now we're gonna see more influencers who are niche based, and they produce content around a niche. For instance, or for example, myself, I am in the food niche. I produce content which is food related. Therefore, me working with a food related brand is a marriage made in heaven. Because that is exactly who I'm talking to. All the people who follow me because of this one thing. And so we'll see more of that kind of relationship with brands and
All right. So in other words, you're saying that like we're heading to a position whereby a brand influencer ambassador is not someone who's famous or someone with numbers, but someone who has a specialty in that field.
Yes, something like that. That's my belief. That we will move towards that situation where it's not all about musicians, celebrities, but just average people doing, creating content that is making valuable change in people's lives.
Okay, so where do you think we're heading though? Is the marketing and branding industry in Botswana, like the pace, looking at the pace that we're moving at also?
You know, the problem with bots is it's a very obscure market, and things are weird because of many different things, you know, and the growth in different places is so slow. I mean, the way, I don't want to get into trouble. I don't know how you're going to edit this thing, but you know, the way newspapers move around here on social media, it's peculiar to Botswana. You don't find that happening, whereby they used to advertise in their newspapers and they're taking this advertising straight onto social media. I haven't seen this happening anywhere else. So what was your question again?
My question was looking at our industry in Botswana, the marketing and branding industry, like at the pace that we're moving at, which direction are we headed?
It's very difficult to say because things here come very late. Growing up, in my experience, something happens in the first world, it takes some time, and then it goes to a second level, and then it comes here after a while. You can almost always see it happening just like that. So right now, I would say we are a little bit behind, as we usually are with anything really. But we have a very peculiar situation because of the market that we're in. It's sort of like different from others because of the numbers, because of just the way the country and the relationship that we have with other countries around us. So I'm more interested in how we can tap into the 68 million people in Southern Africa as a block than to be thinking about Botswana as a market unto itself. I'm so much more interested in working with South Africa, with Namibia, with Zambia, with Zimbabwe, and becoming one. I purposefully reach out to people across this area because I cannot rely on Botswana's market on its own to push me to where I want to go.
Okay. But why is it that it's difficult for international brands to associate with locals?
Yes. Well, one, because of simply the numbers. Devoting a certain amount of their budget towards this small market is not always the best thing. And plus also, some of the marketing work has already been done. So if we're trying to push Omo, let me give a more relevant example or a more relatable example for me. So let's say give me a food brand.
A1 Star.
A1 Star.
Yeah.
White Star.
White Star, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so White Star.
Yeah.
White Star is in South Africa.
Yeah.
They can market in South Africa and the marketing will spill over into Botswana, right?
Yeah.
So now they have a distributor here in Botswana, right? And so the distributor can take care of some stuff. But I don't think White Star is a great example. Let's take Kit Kat.
Kit Kat, yeah.
So Kit Kat, marketing has been done in South Africa. They can take the marketing, they can repeat it here, or they could try to localize it. But at the end of the day, I guess maybe it doesn't make too much financial sense for them because the billboard that is in South Africa can still be the same billboard that is here. So us being who we are as Botswana in the middle of Southern Africa, 2 million people, and also having these big markets as neighbors, it just created the environment that we currently find ourselves in, where it's not always economical to create brand new marketing campaigns down there. But it is important to localize messages and whatnot. But at some point, a more integrated approach would work. That's why I'm creating Foodies Botswana, Foodies Zimbabwe, Foodies... Well, we can't call it Foodies South Africa. We have to call it What's Cooking South Africa and What's Cooking Zambia. Such that if we were to market a product, we could do it across the whole of Southern Africa instead of having to copy and paste these different marketing messages.
Speaking of which, who's at fault here? Is it the consumer? Is it the supplier? Or is the agents?
I'm not going to say anyone is at... I'm sorry if I cut you off. I'm not
sorry.
going to say anyone is at fault.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say this is the circumstance. This is where we find ourselves.
Yeah.
This is the outcome of the circumstances under which we find ourselves. I don't see fault with anyone because everyone has got their objectives and everybody's trying to do the right thing.
Before we shut it down, so what's next for Kenneth Middleton? Because you're always evolving, bro. Like the first time I saw you, you're a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's about expanding my communities across Southern Africa. Like I've already said, that is the next major step for me. Successfully penetrating the South African market, the Zimbabwean market, the Zambian, Namibian, and all across Southern Africa. This is my next big project because eventually I have a feeling... I shouldn't say some of these things.
No, just say them, bro. Yeah, just find a way of saying them in a summarized way.
Yeah, it's just that I have a feeling that eventually people will copy what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so by the time that they do that, I would like to be another 5 steps ahead. So, I mean, to do some of the things that we do now.
Yeah. So, rumor is it that you soon be venturing into music and podcasting. Yeah.
Well, not music, but podcasting definitely something to look into. I mean, given that Facebook is about to launch a podcasting service whereby one can actually listen to a podcast on Facebook, and here's the killer punch. You don't have to log off, or rather you can actually scroll through other content while still listening to your podcast. That is going to be major. It's already been unrolled, but I think this is going to change the whole podcast industry, and also might be the defining blow in the radio industry.
What's your take actually? Like, let me ask you this one. This is an interesting one. I'm not necessarily any radio station locally, but do you think radio is still relevant? Radio, looking at the fact that we have platforms where one can listen to music and platforms where one can listen to dialogues, like this podcast. This is a dialogue.
I think any form of media that is one channel, whereby most of the communications are just being sent and were built a very long time ago, are definitely out of time.
They're out of time.
I think they're definitely out of time. I think in this day and age, we have now become used to a communication that is like two ways, like media that is two ways, constantly two ways, interactive, engaging. And also we are being more accustomed to choice. With radio, I don't get to choose nothing really. Some guy's going to choose the music. Some guy's going to choose who he thinks is the greatest DJ or voice guy or presenter. And so we are now used to choosing. So one, music being on files all across the place, streaming and all these things have definitely taken away from radio, whereby you're just listening to one song at a time and you did not choose that song. So me going back to my library of music and choosing the song that I want is going to always defeat radio. I think one of the last places where radio lives is in the car. I don't know, that's just what I think, but I think we're still in a transition period, so they do have numbers, but I don't think they are numbers as big as they think they are.
All right, what about television?
Same thing. TV is dead. This one I'll speak with more confidence. TV is dead. I have not watched a TV in 20 years. I have no reason for a TV. TV, again, some guy gets to choose some stuff for me, and sometimes it's whack. So I get to go on to YouTube and choose what I want to watch. This cannot be defeated. You can't do anything better than that. And the type of content that we are seeing on these YouTubes, where we have these independent small creators creating interesting stuff, instead of these big budget guys who making stuff that they think is nice, but it's not really that nice.
Okay. And then the local media industry, what's your take on it? In general, the media industry. And the pace that it's moving at.
I think the local media industry is moving at a small pace, but the small content creators, they need to start thinking big. You need to stop thinking about bots. There's too few people here for us. That's why a podcast locally might not do so well with their numbers, because of the small people here, and the fact that now we have to, the way the cell phone networks have set up everything now, you've got this All My Friends, these social packages, which do not allow you to listen to a podcast unless it's put onto social media. And so we can't go to Spotify, we can't go to the podcast websites, because we have to buy data. Now some of us are buying data, it's just not enough. You see, in South Africa it's more than enough. Everywhere else it's more than, and also if you dipping into all these places, so be more interesting than bots. The world is so much more bigger than Botswana, and we need to fit in. And we need to talk about things which are universal instead of just talking about national issues.
So how if you're saying the local media is moving at a slow pace, what is it that is lacking within the local?
What is lacking is too much inward looking. We need to start looking outwards and need to have a universal mindset instead of thinking about how do we make things so much more national. think about how we make things more worldly. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does. And then these content creators, like how can they excel?
They can excel by spending more time. I know it's difficult because at the end of the day, you have to make a living.
Yeah.
So, but again, the more time you spend on your craft, the better it will become. It's a universal principle. The more time you spend on your craft, on your creations, the better they will become. And so you need to find a way to balance your needs with your content creation life, and eventually it will pay off. If you are able to put in the time, put in the effort, it will eventually come around.
All right. Kenneth Middleton.
Yes, sir.
It was a pleasure having you here, bro.
Thank you so
Been
much.
trying to get you here for a very long time.
Yeah, well, finally it happened, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And next time when we meet up, like you'll be having your own Botswana food is like office now.
There's no need for a physical office, my friend. If my laptop is and my phone, these are my offices. I've already got an office. If I've got a laptop and I've got a phone, I have no need for a physical build. Things are changing, my brother.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you for being part of this episode, and we're looking forward to having more conversations with you. And also maybe next time when we meet you, you'd have evolved to being something else.
Definitely, and we'd also like to see the 20th Avenue podcast on a whole nother level with an audience that surpasses what is available locally. You know, reaching out all across Southern Africa, and the world.
Yeah. Big up and much respect, bro.
Salute.
Away.